If you had 800,000 to 1.2 million shillings looking for a small car, I bet your first choice of a small car wouldn't be this, the Suzuki Swift. But this is where you'd go wrong. All people looking for small cars will always look for what is common, the Toyota Vitz, the Mazda Demios, the Nissan Notes. But in this episode, I'll try my best to show you why this Cherry is one of the most underrated cars in small car divisions. Welcome to Keep Left. As always, my name is Kev, the host who knows most about cars. Think about it, not many people like this car, and for reasons unknown. But here's the thing, if you're looking for a car that is very fuel efficient, this is your best bet in terms of small cars. And this car happens to be very powerful if you consider the power to weight ratio of these small cars. This features a 2012 model, which is ideally the third generation of the Suzuki Swift, and it spanned from the years 2010 up to 2017, 2016 late September to December thereabout. But in that period of time, this third generation of the Suzuki Swift didn't change a lot. In fact, it shares a lot of body cues and curved lines with the second generation of the Suzuki Swift. And the story is the same when you look at the fourth generation and the fifth generation. Suzuki somehow don't like changing a lot. They focus much more on evolution than revolution. This generation of the Suzuki Swift is a quite mild or a reserved generation because, again, as I mentioned, the shape hasn't changed a lot if you think about it. It is in the next generation that I think the gears started running in terms of the design team at Suzuki, and especially the Suzuki Swift division. It is in the next generation that you can see them trying to experiment with hybrid cars, trying to experiment with turbocharged cars. This generation, it's only in the diesel derivative that you get a turbo division for the Suzuki Swift. But in the next generation, the fourth generation, they even experiment with the turbochargers and direct injection. Words like booster jet come into conversation when you're talking about the Suzuki Swift. It actually sounds like a name out of Top Gun. So on the money side of things, you get a familiar engine under the bonnet. This is the 1.2 liter engine. In terms of 1.2 liter engines, they come with two different variables. One is the K12B, and then you have the K12M. You further have two different engines in terms of petrol propositions, which is the K14B and a further M16, which denotes a 1400cc engine and a 1600cc engine. Again, you will mostly find the 1600cc engines in the sport versions of this particular model. So as far as this one goes, it is the most economical in class, and it gives you very nice fuel mileage. What I don't like under the bonnet is the positioning of the exhaust manifold. The fact that it is on the front side means that the exhaust is much more elongated. I prefer them to be on this side so that the evacuation of gases is much easier. In terms of transmissions, you don't get much in terms of these cars. So you'll get two manual transmissions, a 5-speed and a 6-speed. Again, only present in the sport models of these cars. And then finally, you get an auto transmission and a CVT transmission like in this particular model. Those are the most common ones in terms of these cars. Aside from that, this employs a front-wheel drive train, and there are 4-wheel drive trains, which are normally rare, and again, in sport models of this is what you might get in that. But these cars are simple as that. They are very fuel economical and very nice to drive. This is aided by the fact that these cars come with a very compact body, and when I do the review of the interior, you'll notice that it is very let me use cramped up in terms of how you describe the space inside. That type of compactness helps the drive capability of this car. It tends to be very firm on the road, and you can actually feel it when you drive the car. In terms of body trims, you either get this as a 4-door or as a 2-door, mostly in UK, but cars coming from Japan normally came as a 4-door. In terms of drivetrain, either front-wheel drive 2-wheel or 4-wheel drivetrain. Matters interior, you get a very nice interior. It is well spaced in terms of the front seats. What I really envy is in the sport models, you get bucket seats, which really hold you in place. But ideally, I like the interior. It's plastic. I'm a huge fan of plastic interiors because they are very easy to maintain. You get more than enough compartments, very huge compartment here. And then on the door cards, you get your cup holders. If you notice on the center console, you don't have so much because of space. So the cup holders have been deployed to the door cards. Aside from that, you don't get steering wheel controls in this category, in this trim level. But you get a nice interior. It's quite simple. Again, you're not buying this car to win awards for the flashiest car ever. I like the simplicity in the center console area, and especially the AC control units. The aftermarket radio fits in very well there. You obviously have this compartment up here, which is nice to have. It just gives you an extra areas to put things. The front area of the car is very well spaced. So is the same, is the story the same at the back? So let's move to the back. So the space at the back is little. It's not bad, but it's very little. So you can see the amount of, I barely have enough space, leg room at the back here. And the fact that there's this transmission tunnel, you don't get comfort in terms of if someone wanted to sit in the middle, you can clearly see this wouldn't work in terms of the back seat. So you don't get a lot of space. The headroom is a much different story because you get a lot of that in terms of height. This is a deliberate move by Suzuki. Because of, if you think about Suzuki and the shapes they have in the SX4s, the Vitaras, the Scudos, this is a quite predominant shape in terms of Suzuki identity. So you understand why they go for this. And again, you're not buying this car as an SUV, you're buying a small car. So this is a compromise you have to go through. One of the biggest disadvantages of this car is the boot space. You don't get a lot of that, ideally because of the slope. And the fact that they raised this back area this much means that in the event that you're carrying something and you want to load, you always need to go up, as opposed to most cars where the bumper is not as big as this and this raised boot area. Again, this, if you consider this, the size of the boot is much smaller and this space is much smaller. So it means that you get a much more compact car. That's what they were going for. So this is not an afterthought. Again, if I was to just jump in here, this is barely enough space. Again, not that you're going to be ferrying people with this car, but you can just get an idea of the amount of space. So again, the space can be increased by just folding the seats, but again, they don't fold completely flat, so that's again a drawback. With this, ideally, the good thing about this, you don't get the pump. You actually get an actual spare wheel, which is actually a good thing. I love that the light illuminates anytime you open the boot. Small things that help these small cars just be different. Power-wise, you're much better suited if you get the 1600cc, which is in the sport model, but this gets you there. It gets you there. It has an eco mode, which means you get very nice fuel economy. In fact, this particular one, on average, town running on the highway, it does, I can see this is 16.1 kilometers to the liter, which is very nice. Now, for the drawbacks, this is the point where most people don't want to hear, but this car is small in size. In terms of all the small cars, it has the least space in the back, the boot area. Again, I know you're not buying this car to carry the whole of Nairobi, but it helps to have that space. It's not an option you want taken away from you. The other thing that I would say in terms of a drawback is in terms of parts, you are limited to specific suppliers. It's not like your Toyotas in the day or even Nissans where the suppliers are so many. For these ones, you have to get definite parts, which again is a good thing because it means that your car gets good stuff. I've always felt that if you wanted to get a car with much lesser engine capacity than this, the 1200cc, the options are very few. Because if you think about it, it's only the Nissan Note that will give you a 1198, which is again 1200 cc's or the 1100 cc's. But ideally, with the Suzuki Swift, you get a much more robust car. You can feel it's actually much more firm on the road. And this goes from a point of view where I've been able to review the Nissan Note, the Mazda Demio, and by extension the Toyota Vitz. So this is, it has a case to claim the Suzuki Swift. Now the thing is, Suzuki have always been modest in terms of their designs, and that's one of the signature cues that you know when you're buying a Suzuki Swift. But here's the thing, shilling for shilling, this is a much better buy than most of the other competitors in the same class, because if you go to the market, you'll end up spending much more, much lesser in this category than in any other car. The only other car that I think would be rather cheaper or in the same price range would be the Nissan Note. And we all know Nissan Notes come to the party when they want to. But here's the thing, you get a much more different car, you get a much more firmer car. The speedometer in this indicates it does 200 kilometers per hour. Yes. Because ideally, you're not buying this car to break any speed record. So it's a good drive, that's what I would say. And all round, it's much simpler in terms of a car. The space that you're in is very nice. It's not complicated and simple to just live with. Thank you so much for watching this episode. And if you haven't subscribed, take this opportunity to subscribe. If you want notifications about future videos in this festivity season, press on the bell icon to get notification on future videos. And don't remember to give it a huge thumbs up. And until next time, it is peace.